It's okay, Ricky. Good time. Doesn't happen as fast as it does in the movies, I know.
Charlie.
Have you ever wondered what exactly happened to Kirby following this very moment in Scream 4? Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Mask. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at Scream 4 and certain events that may have occurred during the third act of the movie. More specifically, I'm going to be novelizing and breaking down what happened following Charlie Walker's brutal attack on Kirby and how she discovered her best friend Jill Roberts was involved as well. As most of you know, for the past month I have been novelizing various aspects of the Scream franchise to provide some much needed lore and backstory to the events. As such, the writings in this video are of my own making as a way to flesh out the events surrounding Kirby's final scenes in the fourth installment of Scream. So, was Kirby lifeless following her attack? Did she attempt to escape? Did she discover Jill was responsible for the Ghostface attacks? Sit back and chill as I talk you guys through how Kirby Reed managed to survive Scream 4. Kirby was confirmed alive in an Easter egg for Scream 2022. She also is confirmed to be appearing in the 6th installment as a main character. Before this information was confirmed, Kirby was often presumed dead by most fans, meaning there wasn't much to discuss in terms of her final moments in Scream 4. It's likely radio silence will provide their own interpretation to Kirby's survival in the upcoming Scream 6 movie, but I decided to write my own version just in case this isn't overly discussed in the movie. Without further ado, let's jump straight in. Following an intense trivia war with Ghostface, Kirby seemingly defeated the mass murderer at his own game, being the only character to date to do so. She attempted to free her friend Charlie Walker from his captive state, only for the tables to turn on Kirby as Charlie set up the whole scenario to lure and destroy her. Charlie stabbed Kirby and proceeded to leave her in a pool of her own blood, before returning to the home to find Sydney. The warmth rushed over Kirby like she had fallen into something sticky and hot. She held her wound harshly and attempted to look in Charlie's direction. Nothing. Charlie, how did she not see it? The fantasist behaviour, the obsession with Stab. She felt stupid, like she truly let herself down. In truth, Kirby felt a draw to Charlie. She could never explain it. It was more of a draw to his love for the same things that she did, she felt. From their conversations to the flirtatious debates about horror movies, she felt Charlie was the only person she had anything in common with in school. But now, it made sense. The draw she had was darker than she'd ever imagined. After all, Kirby didn't just love horror movies, she loved serial killers too. The reaction to Charlie being a killer was an important one. I felt adding this to the brief chapter allowed us to see how Kirby felt about the situation. She was hurt, but I believe deep down she wouldn't have been shocked about his reveal. Let's continue. Jill. Jill is still in the house and so is Sydney. She had to warn them, didn't she? As Kirby attempted to move, her wound seemed to cripple her whole body. She hadn't felt pain like this before, and she was more certain now that the movies definitely portrayed it wrong. The agony swept through Kirby as she attempted to move once again. The pain was unreal, like a force was holding her down, a large boot pressed against her stomach and holding her in place. Kirby yelled in frustration. It echoed through the dark, derelict garden of her home. She laid back and stared at the sky. She was dying. This was her end, another Ghostface victim. She wished she could see her parents again, tell them she loved them. Her eyes became heavy. She closed them firmly shut as everything went black. Kirby's absence through the third act in her home was something to be explained. It's likely her blood loss would have gotten the better of her, or more specifically, the shock of the event would have caused her body to shut down for several minutes. Kirby's eyes opened, stars ahead again. All moved slightly in the sky, but she herself remained perfectly still. She wasn't dead. She touched her wound ever so slightly. The blood had dried on her clothes. She took in her surroundings carefully. In her mind she had been gone for hours. In reality, she was certain not much time had passed at all. Gathering all the strength in her body, Kirby rolled slightly onto her side. The pain rushed through her ferociously. She let out a scream and began crying as the pain started relaxing, but remained a dull, prominent sharp ache in her stomach. She needed help. She had to do something urgently. This was going to be her end. As she observed her position, she saw the patio area of her garden was about to end and she was likely to hit the grass. She positioned her leg onto the floor and swiftly moved fully onto her front, her legs landing on the grass. Pain once again. Although she was starting to cope slightly, she got to her feet and her mind focused on the pain. Don't think about it. Don't think about it, she told herself. She looked back at the house and began making her way back to where Charlie came from. With any luck, Sydney and Jill would have sorted him out, and they'd be likely waiting for the police. Step after step, she walked closer to the house, re-entering it and making her way towards the kitchen. Everything seemed blurry to her. The familiarity of the house, yet the obscure way her mind presented it, made the trip difficult. Silence was interrupted. She recognised the voice straight away. Jill. Despite her wound, Kirby always struck me as someone who would be prepared somewhat, yet physically unaware of the true effects of a stab wound. Enjoying a movie is one thing, but the experience is a lot more painful. Her wanting to seek Jill and Sydney was likely her last attempt at survival. How did she react to Jill being the killer? Let's continue. Kirby emerged at the foot of the stairs as she glanced down into the kitchen. Jill was talking to someone, shouting in fact. Kirby glanced at the floor, near the doorway. Charlie. Dead. Jill and Sydney obviously took care of him. Kirby looked back up and focused her view on Jill. Sydney was stood against the kitchen counter. As she stepped forward, the view became clear. Jill was clear. The book hunter's knife was stretched out from Jill's hand towards Sydney. Kirby caught a glimpse of her friend's face. The shy, quiet, yet insecure best friend was gone. This wasn't her friend. Her face seemed distorted, her voice full of hate, anger. Jill was involved? It hit Kirby. This wasn't a joke. Her best friend had fucking lost it. She was a killer. She killed Olivia. She and Charlie. My god. Kirby had been such an idiot. As her thoughts quietened, blood dripped to the floor from Kirby's wound. She had to help Sydney. This was no movie. That psycho seemed like she had the upper hand. She stepped back into the dining room quietly and carefully leaned to unplug her mum's favourite lamp. She carried it carefully back into the hall once again. I'm going to get that bitch. She played me, played our friends. She was going to murder her own cousin. Kirby stepped forward slowly, preparing to strike with whatever she had left. Suddenly, stab. Jill pressed the knife into Sydney's stomach. Kirby faintly gasped. She stepped back. Jill had killed Sydney. Including Kirby into the scene actually demonstrates how broken she may have been from the events. Throughout the writing, my purpose for this particular moment is to show and remind Kirby that despite the glossed movie trivia, the remake discussion and so forth, this was really happening. The decision to have her witness Sydney's attack is the dark reality that Jill was dangerous and no one was going to protect her. Kirby reclined back into the dining room. Jill began moving around in the kitchen. Sydney was dead. Even she couldn't take on Jill. Kirby placed the lamp back down. Everything was becoming more blurred once again. Her wound was leaking. She stepped back carefully and into a doorway which led to storage space. Exhausted, defeated, Kirby slided down the door and hit the floor. Her eyes grew darker once again. She was sure she heard Jill scream, again and again. Whatever she was doing, she'd won. Kirby had given up. Olivia pressed against her mind. How could she? Jill had a rough childhood, but Kirby had no idea it was this bad. Before she could retain her thought, Kirby's eyes closed once again. She was sure this time she was dead. It's my personal belief the memory of Olivia at this point would have been a prominent factor for Kirby. The scale of Jill's killing spree hadn't hit Kirby yet. Following this, I wrote a chapter discussing the aftermath of Jill's killings. That is a video for another day, however. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hear you like horror movies, Kirby.